The hottest real estate trend is multiple offers. If you're a buyer who's been frustrated by losing out to competition time after time, stick around because we're going to tell you some strategies to win in the bidding wars. Hi, I'm Ann Byer with Keller Williams Real Estate out of Exton, Pennsylvania in Chester County, west of Philadelphia. Welcome to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and comment, all that good stuff. It's now October 2020. Inventory is crazy low. When a house comes on the market, provided it's in decent condition and priced reasonable, buyers are lined up. It's almost impossible to get an appointment, even to see the house. So you know what's coming. Multiple offers. It can be so frustrating to a buyer. And they're looking to us as realtors to help them. What can we do to make this offer the very best it can possibly be? So I'm going to share with you some strategies to help you. How can you win in a bidding war? Well, the key strategy is to make it the best overall package for the seller. Now, it's not necessarily just price. There's risk involved in a real estate transaction. The buyer in Pennsylvania has 3 different opportunities to walk away, as we'd say, where they can get their deposit money back and terminate. Well, that seller wants to reduce the risk on those 3 events. We're going to talk about them right now. The first is inspections. The buyers just paid a mighty premium for your property, and they sort of come to the inspections and think, oh, I'm going to get some of that back. Well, that doesn't go well, and it becomes controversial, and it's not what a seller looks forward to. So how can you reduce that risk to the seller? How can you make him feel comfortable that you are not going to nickel and dime him? There are buyers out there who are waiving inspections. It's something we've not seen before. It's not what I would recommend. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't properties out there where the risk is lower. It's got all new mechanicals, it's been rehabbed, it's been immaculately maintained. There are a lot of people out there who can fix things and it's not so worrisome. But let's say you want a strategy where you're not going to waive inspections, but you want to reduce that risk to the seller. You could say in your offer that you are willing to waive the first X dollars. Let's call it $5,000. So that protects you against big things. If there's structural damage, needs new HVAC, which is rare, you're protected. But you know that if it's a matter of calling in an electrician for ground fault circuit interrupters or a leak under the sink, that you can take that on, and that this puts a reduced risk on the seller. Now, it can be complicated. I won't lie to you. The hope is that everything is clearly under that threshold. But if it's not, you're going to need to gather prices. You're going to have to negotiate what the seller was even willing to do. That's true in all inspections. You have to know what things cost in order to make decisions. Another factor to consider when it comes to inspections is the type of mortgage that you have. A conventional mortgage will have an appraisal strictly for value. But if you have an FHA or a VA loan, that appraisal may actually require some repairs to the property. And if you were a seller evaluating multiple bids and you had one that was FHA and another that was conventional, all things being equal, you would pick the conventional product. The second risk is for the mortgage and mortgage approval. Well, you want to make sure that you have presented the best foot forward by getting a pre-approval, by accurately filling out the buyer's financial information, which is what we use here in Pennsylvania, to make sure that the seller understands how much cash you have, what your income is, what your debt is, so that we can know as an agent evaluating that whether or not you're going to be okay getting to the finish line. As part of the mortgage approval process, the lender will order an appraisal. Right now, with prices going well over list price, this becomes a true risk for the seller. Why? Well, if the list price was $500,000 and the agreed upon price was $520,000, and the property appraises at $510,000, there are three solutions. The buyer can bring $10,000 more to settlement, so they have to have that, which is why we like the buyer's financial information. We can renegotiate. Seller's not crazy about that. Find some middle ground. Or the seller reduces the price to the appraised value, which they certainly are not excited about doing. So that is why if you can reduce that appraisal risk, you can state in your offer that you are willing to bring X amount of dollars to settlement in the event of a shortfall. Doesn't have to be the whole amount, it can be some amount. And that gives the seller some level of confidence that the appraisal is not going to be a deal killer. Now keep in mind, this does mean you're going to pay above the appraised value. The third risk involved in an agreement of sale is that the buyer has a review period for the homeowners association documents or condo association documents. There's not a lot that we can do to avoid this risk other than acting promptly to order these documents. But there's nothing in an offer that I can, well, I don't know, maybe you could say, we don't care anything that comes up on the HOA docs. I've not seen that yet. Could be an idea. So now we've gone through the risks involved to the seller. Let's move to the rewards, the money part. The first thing that would happen once, if I have a buyer and they're interested, is to call the agent and get some information. So what's important to that seller? When do they want to move? Is the property vacant? They probably want to move quickly. Do they have to find a home? Would they like an extended period of time? Would it be helpful to them to maybe allow them to rent back after settlement a while so that they can find another home? This is important information and very, very substantial in an offer, because if you have a closing date that satisfies the seller, your bid is better. When it comes to how much to offer, what I would tell you from my experience is that offering less than list price in a competing bid is not in your best interest. You could have two offers and they can escalate to the same level, but if one started under list price and one started at or above list price, which one do you think the seller's going to like? The other thing is your deposit money. Deposit money is not extra money, it's money prepaid so that you owe less at settlement. A bigger deposit is viewed more favorably. We already talked about cash, and if you disclose that you have substantial cash or more cash such that you could have the ability to bring more money to the table in the event of an appraisal issue, that can be helpful. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Some people are actually, especially first-time buyers, having trouble in this market, are having their parents give them cash to buy the property with cash and then getting a mortgage to repay their parents. It's just what's going on. Why is cash more important? Only in that there's no mortgage approval. So if you lose your job or your hours are reduced or it doesn't appraise, those risks go away. Now, if you had a low offer with cash and a high offer with a mortgage, that's the seller's choice. Maybe they evaluate that financial stability and talk to the lender and decide which way to go. The seller, when he sells his home, the two biggest expenses are the realtor fees and the transfer taxes. The seller typically pays 1%, the buyer pays 1% transfer tax. Some municipalities, it's higher. Sometimes the buyer will offer to pay that transfer tax. It's just another improvement to get to the bottom line, their higher bottom line. When you submit an offer, you have a purchase price and you have the option to do an escalation clause. I always say it's like eBay. I'll pay this much, but I'll top the highest offer by X dollars, whatever that might be. And up to, but not to exceed. And that's where you actually give your highest and best. So if you had two offers as a seller and that escalation was $500 over the highest, and the other one had a better deposit, a better closing date, but $500 might not really do the trick. So you might want to consider doing a beefy escalation increment so that it's compelling. Now, one could argue that it's tough out there. If you were willing to go to X dollars, just go to X dollars, because it gets complicated for agents evaluating these, and some are better at it than others. They have two escalation clauses. They have one with the transfer tax going in. They have one with, whatever, the inspection waiver. So, that's a decision you have to make in your heart. But you are potentially leaving money on the table if you just go to your highest and best. There are agents who will not allow an escalation clause, and they will just say, give us your highest and best. So be prepared for that. You can try what you can try, but at the end of the day, it's that gut-wrenching, what are we going to offer? I tell my clients, if you found out that X bought the house and you stopped at X minus $2,000, would you say to yourself, I would have given that, I would have paid that? And that's what you want to avoid. Now, keep in mind, mortgage money is incredibly cheap. $10,000 more is, it depends on the interest rate, but let's call it $40. $40 a month for $10,000. So if you go over $5,000, you're looking at $20 a month. Okay, admittedly added up over the years, yada, yada. But in terms of a monthly payment, it's not that substantial. So here are some non-financial considerations in your offer. If they have excluded the washer, dryer, and refrigerator, I would be reluctant to ask them to include it in this market. That's stuff. Go get your stuff somewhere else. Don't involve it in the real estate transaction. A letter, very, very influential. You got to be careful though. It's not about you. It's about them. So when you write the letter, it shouldn't be, we're new. Well, it's cool if you're newly married. We get it. New kid. It's all great stuff. But you want to say, I see myself raising my child in that backyard and playing ball, and the features of the way that you decorate, your selections of lighting and that sort of thing, where this is near and dear to them. This is their home. They put love into this, and they love hearing that what they've done to their home is, of value to you. Make your offer complete. I'm a listing agent. I get offers that have errors, blank documents, late documents. No. You want it all clean and neat. I actually do this multiple offer worksheet to help the agent so that they know the absolute details of my offer at a glance without having to read through everything and write it all down so that they can compare. Some sellers have cameras in their house, and you don't want to be the one that didn't wipe their feet or put their mask on or whatever, open the refrigerator and took out a piece of cheese. You don't want to be that one. So behave, which is truly the rule in all markets. So what else can you do? Well, you could offer to name your firstborn after them. Just kidding. You could buy them 4 rounds of golf if you see they're a golfer. Sky's the limit right now. Be creative. I can help you with that. Ann Buyer, Keller Williams. Give me a call.